Let's talk about USA basketball. Did a video yesterday afternoon late that Caitlin Clark is among a number of participants that's headed to the senior training camp for Team USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the...
The league was completely destroyed by the shockwaves, which struck like a cannonball. Fans were rejoicing over Caitlin Clark's invitation to the senior training camp when a fresh image appeared, purporting to be a welcome from Team USA, but the faces were looking back. Not the one that everyone had anticipated. In women's basketball, the most prominent player who changed the game was mysteriously absent. Supporters were furious by the blatant disrespect, which sparked a blaze of debate and felt like a public benching. This wasn't only a mistake. The message was crystal apparent, yet the official outlets were utterly silent.
USA. Now, I would assume, right? Oh, they've learned all kinds of lessons after failing to put Caitlin Clark on Team USA during the Olympics. By the way, of which the guy that runs the 2028 Olympics, he come out and said he thought it was a terrible idea leaving her off the team. Adam Silver said, hey, I think this was an opportunity that they could have had to have grown women's sports. Something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to...
Imagine NBC's anger, or rather, the annoyance they ought to have experienced. Given the state of the media today, TV viewership may have broken records with Clark on the Olympic team, even matching the fabled Dream Team players. Rather, that wonderful chance was wasted. The possibility of hitherto unheard-of ratings. It was more than just a victory for women's basketball. For broadcasters, it was an assured ratings bonanza. A significant cultural and economical boost that was purposefully turned down. The lack of vision is unbelievable, costing millions of dollars in lost visibility and revenue.
Own women's sports. Something that I and many other Caitlin Clark fans also said. Do you want to grow the sport? Do you want to... I said NBC should have been furious that she was not on the Olympic team. They would have shattered... They might have shattered potentially actual Olympic basketball records, maybe outside of the old Dream Team kind of records, right? Back when television ratings in general were just higher because there was no streaming services, yada, yada, yada. But you get my point. It'd have been a huge rating.
Christine Brennan, a renowned sports journalist, posted something that sparked the most recent fury among fans. She wisely pointed out that USA Basketball would have prominently featured Caitlin Clark on their promotional images if they truly wanted to promote the sport and draw in new followers. Her straightforward but deadly criticism went viral, receiving over 250,000 views and putting USA Basketball on the defense. It was an unmistakable proof that the public saw right through the organization's feeble attempts at engagement, exposing a sharp discrepancy between their declared purpose and their real behavior.
It'd have been a huge rating. Instead, they continue to treat Caitlin Clark like she's a leper. What are we doing? What are we doing? The WNBA, Team USA, I don't understand. When I did my video last night, I had not seen this. Shit, I got up this morning and I've seen it now. And we'll get to the reaction. By the way, heads up, Christine Brennan's the one that really caught my eye on this. And, you know, just to put it out there.
The offensive image was telling in and of itself. It glaringly left out the one athlete who has unquestionably become the face of the sport, despite showcasing other gifted players like Chelsea Gray and Kelsey Plum. It was evident how people felt on social media. Once more, who are these players? This has nothing to do with disparaging other athletes. It's about recognizing a worldwide phenomena. USA Basketball appears determined to put internal politics ahead of business considerations, refusing to prioritize the player who is most well-known and marketable. It's a perplexing tactic that actively undermines its own purported objectives.
Would have had added the photo of one other player to this graphic, but no. I'm going to keep it real. She's the only player I'd have put on that graphic. The only player. I mean, at some point, this women's basketball has got to quit worrying about hurting people's little feelings. Seriously, do you want to grow or do you not want to grow? I mean, you put Kaylee Copper, okay, Kelsey Plum, and I'm guessing this is probably Chelsea Gray, right?
There were real repercussions from the previous Olympic snub. Women's basketball games were completely boycotted by many spectators. As a clear and indisputable consequence of Clark's absence, attendance at those events fell precipitously. This was more than just anecdotal complaints. It was a quantifiable group effort by a fervent fan base. At that time, the message was made quite plain. However, it seems that USA Basketball has purposefully disregarded the information. The possibility of additional estrangement and a sustained drop in viewing now looms big due to this most recent perceived affront. It appears that they are committed to making the same mistakes over and over again at enormous expense.
Guard than Caitlin Clark. And I paid attention then long enough to throw up in a bucket. I mean, this is nuts. USA women's basketball is back. 18 athletes will attend December 12th through the 14th, Durham, North Carolina. By the way, you want to know one reason why the ratings were down for the last Olympics on women's basketball? People boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember.
Because of the intense public outcry, USA Basketball discreetly started removing their own social media posts that used the contentious image, but the main post is still being overtaken by harsh criticism and nasty comments. Even if it's not an admission of guilt, this hurried retreat says a lot. In a desperate, if awkward, attempt to steer the story, it demonstrates awareness of the impending storm. However, in the era of instantaneous information and viral anger, such actions merely serve to magnify the perceived offense and worsen the situation for the troubled company. For many years, the goal of national governing organizations such as USA Basketball has been twofold: gain medals and advance the sport. However, USA Basketball has completely failed to carry out the latter portion of its purpose by consistently ignoring its best star. Yes, they are winning medals, but at the price of growing their fan base and ensuring the future of the sport. This continuous failure is more than just a squandered chance. It deliberately undermines the potential of sports by prioritizing personal choice above broad public appeal. The long-term harm to sports development is becoming more and more apparent. This is not an isolated instance. The narrative of resistance is ongoing. It seems that USA Basketball is still making every effort to oppose the CC movement, fiercely battling the public opinion trend and Clark's indisputable influence. The player who has unquestionably altered the game's terrain is met with entrenched hostility and a tenacious refusal to accept them. This hostile approach, which views a rising star as a threat rather than an asset, is confusing and seriously detrimental to the public perception of sports. The reasons for this enduring resistance are still shrouded in confusing mystery. The odd choices extend even to veteran players. The source points to Diana Taurasi's dinosaur ass being placed on a prior Olympic team only to log DMPS did not play. This illustration demonstrates a perceived preference for well-known, if aged, celebrities over exciting, audience-driven rookies. Although honoring veterans is. Importantly, putting sentimentality ahead of current impact on future growth is a clear sign of a deeper issue. It's a stark illustration of dubious roster decisions that seem to prioritize internal loyalties over both performance and marketability, further fueling fan frustration. The criticisms of USA Basketball occasionally go into uncomfortable territory, with some suggesting a double standard against Clark. Comments about her being too white or not checking the boxes hint at underlying biases influencing decision. The perception itself creates deep divisions and mistrust among fans the process of selecting. Whether or not these claims are true, they seriously harm the integrity of sports. Caitlin Clark is without a doubt the most well-known women's basketball player in the world, regardless of internal politics.
Oh, people boycotted it because Caitlin Clark wasn't named to the team. I remember. That was a huge story on this channel. A huge story. So, a lot of people noticed Christine's post. It got over 250,000 views. And it looks to me like that USA Basketball chose to leave the conversation with her share because, look.
Her appeal cuts beyond boundaries and demographics, drawing previously unheard-of levels of interest from viewers. Ignoring this incredible attraction on a global scale, particularly during major events like the Olympics, is a deliberate attempt to undermine women's basketball's global growth. Her absence from any promotional materials or final roster is a self-inflicted wound of epic proportions for the sport because her presence is a universal draw and a magnet for new viewers. From the top down and within, there is a strong belief that the WNBA. I still find it unacceptable that Caitlin Clark is the sole star and reason people watch the WNBA. If this internal animosity is real, it depicts jealousy and resistance to the unsettling reality that one player has surpassed all others in terms of drawing power. For some, it's a tough pill to swallow, resulting in what many see to be spiteful choices that deliberately undermine the league's overall performance. Sports talent is being eaten away from within by such internal friction, which is like a cancer. It is a harsh but common critique that angry, nasty, and resentful members of the league are favoring unmarketable or less relatable individuals over Clark's widespread popularity. This viewpoint implies that there is an agenda at work.
Failed to grow women's basketball at the 2024 Olympics. This is a continuing story. They learned nothing. They learned nothing. They are still fighting the CC motion with everything they have. Did I watch the last Olympics without CC? Nope. Will I watch this team with CC? Yes. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. You're not the only one. I